questions that came from here. I really love that we're going to open with Meetup because we are in a Meetup group together, and it is a singles Meetup group nonetheless. And I know that we have some energy that makes us excited. There's attraction, and yet being in that mindful space, at least for ours, we're kind of taming it down. But not all singles groups are like that. Some of them are just totally geared to you just meeting and mingling and getting numbers. And so it's really hard to understand what the energy is and what's appropriate, what's not appropriate in meetup groups. And people show up to meetup groups for different reasons. So I would love to hear from you guys, how to navigate dating in meetups, those that are single focused and dating focused, and those that aren't. What do you guys do? I know it takes a while to like think about it for a second.
Well, I mean, I listed the question. I think that's a good point, Larissa. There are some meetup groups that are, well, first of all, people do show up at meetups for different reasons. During the pandemic, many people just wanted to socialize and not date. Or that was the reality. And so, and there are meetup groups for different purposes. Some specifically state, well, they have, certainly if they have other, interests, they're going kayaking or something, that may be the main focus. But for social groups, some will specifically say we're for singles, we're for couples, others are, you can tell by the activity, this is a singles meet and greet. Others say, we want to have dinners so we can have deep conversation, get to know people. And that's fine if there's people that are at the table that you want to get to know. But, there might not be. So you might rather be at a meet and greet where you can mix and mingle and try to find somebody that you really want to talk to, that you might really want to marry. So, there's different reasons. So, and some of the groups are good. Some of them have more rules than less rules. So there's a whole, but the reason I brought the question up is, I wanted to get people's advice, because these are social groups, and if you are going for the purpose of dating, and at least online, with all the problems that there are, if something doesn't work out, well, you can each move on. It's kind of, whereas in a meetup group, you may keep running into the same people that that didn't work out with, and you wish you didn't keep running into them, and it's not as clean of a break. And you may value the people in the meetup group more than any particular persons. You may just want to socialize and not date. I've specifically thought, gee, there's this one meetup group that's kind of geographically far away, and maybe I'll date somebody from there, because if it doesn't work out, I could skip seeing that meetup group, going to that meetup group for a year, and it wouldn't bother me. But a real close by group, I don't really want to. It's almost like dating someone where you work. I don't want to mess this up, and then I have to show up at work every day. I don't want to have to show up at this meetup group every week and keep running into this person or see them with somebody else, or it's like a little patent place, and it's like a big soap opera, real life soap opera. And so anyway, that's the conundrum, and I'm just curious if other people have found a successful way forward, or considerations, or things to think about, or how to approach this brave new world. Anyway, thank you.
That was a wonderful question. I think it is a big one to consider, because even when you go into a meeting or a meetup group that might just be generally open to anyone, you might really connect with somebody that you don't know is married or single or committed in a relationship. You're just there for a good connection. And then maybe you start then how do you even approach that? How do you say, oh, I feel a really great connection? And they're like, oh yeah, me too. And then but you're not moving forward. Like, are they waiting for you to ask them out? or are they married, but they aren't wearing a ring? Like the whole thing can be really, I mean, you can have a conversation. Hopefully you're having a conversation around your status. And but I can definitely understand that, like you said, conundrum. It can be. And preserving your safe space, if you like your group, that gets tricky.
Well, right. And, I mean, there are groups that that welcome singles and couples. And yeah, I guess that there are people that show up at a meetup group that are married and they show up without their partner and they don't have their ring on. And you kind of wonder, gee, what's going on?
Mm-hmm.
But there are groups that specifically say we're for singles, no couples,
Mm-hmm.
and people that some of the groups might be called single and actively looking. So from the title of the group, you might hope to run into people that are on the same page as you.
Yes.
And whereas there are other groups that, it's just a kayaking group, there can be plenty of people that are married, and their partner doesn't kayak. So, you've got to understand that's a big clue for you. So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. What do you guys
anyway, yeah, I'm open to, I'll be all ears now. Okay, maybe.
think?
Anybody been successful at navigating the meetup groups and dating? Or because I don't see much, it would be a great idea, but it may be better than or an addition to online dating.
Well, I
But
can chime in.
okay, please do.
So I haven't been successful personally, but I've observed a lot. It seems like people that I observe have more luck with dating people from Meetup than people they meet online. And it seems like this one group I'm in has a Sunday morning hike, and there are so many people became couples who met on that hike. A few of them have gotten married, and the hike takes about 2 hours. And I think it's a great way to approach people, because you just kind of, someone walking alone, you just kind of catch up to them, start talking, and you can learn a lot about someone in 2 hours. And it doesn't necessarily mean you're hitting on them if you talk. I've noticed that. Too bad we don't get too many new people on the hike, but then sometimes people, sometimes the group will go out to lunch or whatever afterwards. And I think Meetup's a great way to, if you want to take your time and be friends first, you can find out all about somebody. And that's what I've seen a little bit of too, is people maybe becoming friends first, and showing up like to a weekly thing like that where you see the person all the time. Although I don't really know how it evolves from there. I tend to, if I really enjoy someone's company from the group, like same as what you said, I don't want to mess it up by dating them. But I think maybe
have you seen them, like people dating and then it gets awkward or anything like that happen?
Oh, people dating and breaking up?
Yeah, in your group that spends 2 hours together.
I mean, I haven't seen people from the hike seem to be pretty successful at their relationships, but I've seen other people around the meetups, that like people I see all the time, that what the other problem what I see is the ones that get together, once they break up, they do get back together several times, and because like we said, it's hard to go no contact when you have the same friend circle. And it's, the scarcity mindset, I got to go back out there and start all over again. And, I think that's another thing that scares me away, is seeing these people, because I kind of stayed away from it. I do. I mean, I've had guys ask me to go get a drink or whatever. I do that a lot, and I purposely friend zone them if I'm not sure. So like, I won't let them pick me up. I'll just make them meet me there. Don't let them pay for me. Oh, I did actually date someone from the meetup in 2021. I kind of forgot about him, but yeah, it was kind of tough. But one thing was, we were not friends first, and he was someone I hardly ever ran into. So I knew it would be easy to avoid him. And it was only awkward for a couple months. And yeah, actually, yeah, then maybe 6 or 7 months later, he came up to me at something and he was like, oh, I want to apologize for what, but I don't know if it was genuine, but then it got easier. I hardly ever see him, so it's fine. So I think that's why I gave him a chance. But I also think maybe that's why I gave him too much of my energy, was like the scarcity mindset. Like, here's somebody I met in real life and we seem to have a lot in common, but I felt like everything was on his terms and it just wasn't a good match for me.
You just said so many amazing things.
Sorry.
No, not in a bad way. Like, I'm like, oh, that was an amazing point. And that was an amazing point. That's a good idea.
I rambled.
No, it all made sense and I followed you. I love that you picked out this scarcity mindset, right? And that is when you're off the apps and you don't have those insane amount of endless profiles, which feels like endless. You feel like, oh my gosh, I don't have that many people in my area, when that's not true either. It is like, or in your meetup, if people aren't coming in a lot,
right?
Okay, well, now I only have to pick from these people, and that maybe is the kind of push we need to invest in a friendship or someone genuine that we like, because we're not thinking the grass is greener on the other side, like you do with dating apps, right? You're like, oh, this seems amazing. I had an amazing date, but I'm going to go home and get on the apps and see if I can find somebody better, right? That's just this, like, it's not something we like to admit, and not something that we do consciously. It's just like you get back on there and then you're like, oh, but this guy seems taller and funnier or whatever. It's all like, I'm not saying I look for that, but when you have that push in real life, it can do good and bad things, right? It can make you like move forward with somebody that, maybe not the best, but it's your best option, or it, gets you to invest in somebody that really could be a great partner that you would have maybe overlooked,
Yeah, no, that's a good point, Larissa. I mean, with the apps, if you can always go back to the database, then it's like, it's like, it's almost, you can almost never feel like you can really commit to somebody. People almost become like electrons. There's another image, there's another database entry somewhere. But whereas the meetup groups, that, it's a set number of people. It used to be easier before the pandemic, when the groups were larger, there were more people. And if something didn't work out, in a 50-person meetup event, you could just stay on the other side of the room and avoid them if you needed to. But it's harder now with smaller groups at post-pandemic. And it's all interesting. So I good points that you made there, Kathy. And I do think it's easier if it's a group that you really don't care that much about. You're more interested in somebody in group. Now, the downside of a smaller group, even though, you mentioned, Larissa, there's a set number of people, but then I've seen online comments on meetup groups or whatever, or people comments that they might make to you're standing next to them at the event, and they go, wow, it's always the same people here. When is there going to be somebody new? So maybe there's a happy medium somewhere between the limitless number of people who probably misrepresenting themselves on online dating apps, and a set a lower number of people in a meetup group because of the pandemic effects. So,
and I think it's like, what's that slogan? 2 in the bush is worth 1 in the hand.
yes,
right? Like, you don't have to go through the hours of agony on the dating apps to try and get to see somebody in person. You are already like weeks ahead in the dating game if you go to a meetup group and you actually see real people in real life and you gauge your energy. You can notice sparks right away. Like, it's just worth, to me, way better to meet people less people in real life, knowing that they're in my area, knowing that they're real people, instead of trying to spend my time figuring if they're just real people online, if they really are in my area, or they're actually on the other side of the world posing as somebody who lives in my area, like all of that is just so frustrating to me. So, and I mean, to put a little plug in for relationships and moving forward with good energy and good things you notice, a lot of things can work if we get out of the online dating app mindset where like you have all these parameters. They need to be this height, they need to have this body type, they need to like this music. Like if you get out of that and you just kind of notice good people and see if you can be friends with somebody, like that you can make if you both like each other enough to move forward and go on a coffee date, like they don't have to be everything to you. They just have to be the person you really would like to spend more time with. Like that again, dating app mentality, we just have this, they have to be my everything. They have to be perfect in all these different ways, or I'm not going to move forward. And I don't know. I think that's what meetups are really great for, is like bringing back like some humanity to dating and just helping us be people, hanging out, having fun together.
I totally agree.
Yes, I mean, you can see how they interact in a crowd, and you try to develop a friendship first. I'm trying to some extent, integrate the two in this. I'm trying to see, if you look at a meetup crowd or people at a meetup event, if you can find them on a dating app, you may be able to find out, oh, they have 3 kids living at home with them, or oh, they're looking for a guy who's at least 6 feet tall, and then, so it's a way to kind of help you navigate the crowd. But I'm not that successful at that, because heretofore, people used to use different names on their dating apps. They'd be on different apps, different pictures, photos from 10 years ago, and what have you. So
Yeah.
I haven't gotten real good at that. Anyway.
What do the rest of you guys think?
But yeah, I agree with what you said previously, Larissa. Like I said in the previous meeting, you have to lower your expectations. You can't plan the rest of your life with every new person you come across. And you got to get out of that online dating mindset, which I was on for, like I told you before, 15 years exclusively. So yeah, I regret that, the online dating stint I had. And yeah, the meetup thing is a step up, but I wish there was more active members and all that. And yeah, it's always, the people that really like you're not that into, and vice versa. But like I said, you just lower expectations. Also, you have to increase the pool of people, that are potential options. So, yeah.
Oh, I have a question for the men in the group. So to that point of not enough people, I mean, what I'm saying is it's mostly women in these groups.
I love that you're bringing this up.
You guys got it made. What would make more men join? That's what I would like to ask. What is it that you think many of them don't join?
Well, I think they just don't know about the website. But yeah, you say there's mostly women. I agree. In my area, definitely mostly women. But yeah.
Well,
I don't know what the giggles were, but I would love to know, because there's usually an imbalance. That would be great.
Yeah.
That would be a question for the men who aren't here, because we're all here. So,
Right.
yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. But they're not the best options, was what I was about to say. But yeah.
I was going to say, I think it depends on the age group. As the population increases, the number of available men decreases, because health reasons, or they retire, move away, or they get married, they're still married, whatever. The women tend to live longer than men. So the other thing I think that goes on is they may be off on hike. They're not going to meet up groups. There are groups that have motorcycle clubs, bicycling groups, tennis clubs. There are groups that have been going on long before Meetup ever started, and they may belong to that. some men have given up. They've joined the MGTOW movement, men going their own way. They've just thrown in the towel, given up on dating, and you know, they play with their stereo, the computers, electronic, you know, whatever, get together with other guys, you know, whatever, they go biking, or they've just given up. You know, there's obviously problems with the pandemic and Meetup. People are still concerned now. It may not be COVID, but the flu or whatever. So I don't know. There's a lot of there's a lot of reasons, but I don't know. Other men may have thoughts. So those are mine anyway.
Thank you. I did have this conversation with a guy who used to run speed dating events, but I will pause. I'll save that to the end if you guys have. I want to make sure the rest of you guys share.
Yeah. Well, okay, I'll just say one last thing. You know, like I was saying before at the previous meeting, you know, like the most of the groups I attend in my area, it's mostly women, but they're mostly older women, much older than me. And that's fine, you know, but you know, I just use this website just to improve my social skills, all that stuff, and just friendships, what have you. But if you really want to be happy, you have to go after what you really want. And like I said before, you know, if you see somebody you're attracted to that gives you butterflies, that makes you excited about life at the grocery store, you need to go up and talk to them. That's the only way. That's the best option. It's the hardest option, but it's the best option. So that's all.
If it's easy, it's probably not worth doing. It's one of my favorite quotes.
Yeah, from that perspective, Dinesh, what you're saying, if there may be an aspect where if aging is decreasing attractiveness or attraction, those men may be going somewhere else. They may have given up, or they may be going on high, you know, they may have joined groups that are athletic in nature, in particular because those people will be active adults and will be keeping their weight under control and healthy and you know, so forth. So that could be a factor why they're not going to meet up, particularly if they're not for the non-athletic meetups. That, you know, there are some over 50 groups that are athletic groups, and others that you end up with athletic groups of over 50, and then there's other groups that are sort of the foodies that are not athletic. So that, I think that's a factor also.
Okay, Sid, I saw you raise your hand.
Yeah, I guess I'm in a different world here, because I go to meetups because I want to talk with people, have a good time, get out, do whatever they're doing. And I don't have a plan. It's not like I have a plan there. And I see guys at meetups who are there to meet women. And it's so patently obvious, it's almost sad that they work their way around the room to each woman that they want to talk to. And it's their whole mission for being there. And I don't know how well it works. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. But I went to a wine tasting over the weekend. And I don't drink much, but it was a nice time, and I talked to some nice people. But at the end of the evening, I just felt like I had talked to some good people. There used to be a different meetup group called Friends First. The group is still around, but it's not the same group. New people took over it, and it changed completely. In the original version, that was the real mission of it. It was run specifically. Everybody wore name tags, so you knew names, and it was specifically designed for friends, to be friends. And you'd meet at nice at places. I mean, Thanksgiving at people's houses. And it was its purpose. Now it's a dance group, and I don't dance, so I haven't been back to them in forever.
I think they did do a Thanksgiving dinner at someone's house this past Thanksgiving, though. I saw that up there.
It was, yeah. Well, I did a meetup Thanksgiving. I've said I have no living relatives. I'm an only of an only. And therefore it's for me, it's having a flock to get together with.
Yeah.
I mean, Frank at Barrington is great for that, for doing events on the holidays. And he works really hard to put things together for the holidays for people who don't have other people to get together with normally. It's a great way to do that. But back to the question, back to the point. I mean, to me, there are singles groups whose goal is people matching up. I mean, meeting people, matching up. And then there are groups that are single, but they're not really matchup groups.
Mm-mm. Like they don't want you to.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they don't push it either way, but it's not really what they're doing. I mean, it can happen, and it does, and people meet and people get together, but it's not the primary purpose. Where there are other groups which are dating groups, and I mean, that's why the people are there. And those are the ones where it's tough when you get a bad ratio of men and women together. It's tough to do that. I belong to Match. I said that last time. And Match has finally started to do more in-person events.
Yeah.
And they work hard to keep the ratios even between the genders, because otherwise it gets tough to find people to meet.
Yeah.
And it's also what people are actually looking for.
So even if you go to like a meetup where there's not like we're not trying to match you up, deep down you're like, like, oh, I feel a little connection with that person, but I'm not really allowed or not really encouraged to move forward. So there's this tension that kind of builds, and that's exciting. I mean, that can be kind of fun too. And maybe a little off-putting if you show up to a singles event and you're like, and that like piggybacks on the question of like how to ward off interest. If like you're at a meetup group and you're getting some attention in a way that you don't want, or from someone you're not attracted to, like that's an awkward scene. And before we get to that, because I would love even actually both of you guys' opinions on how to handle that. The offer of, I guess, why men don't come out more from somebody who apparently used to run really successful speed dating events and like got an even amount of men to come out, was more like they need to be nurtured a lot more. Like, and I see this all the time. Women can come out to an event knowing that there's going to be other women there and feel comfortable and safe. The likelihood that we can't just like go up to a group of women and just start having a conversation and feel okay. I could go up to a complete stranger that's a woman and be like, oh my gosh, this guy just said this to me. Talk to me. Like, or act, or what do I do? Right. And be vulnerable in a way that we kind of share a common theme or a moment. I know she would understand and I feel okay. You guys don't really normally have that. Right? You're much more isolated in your life, the way you run your emotions and your safety around who you can talk to and what are you going to do if you feel awkward. You can't just go up to a guy and be like, I feel awkward, hang out with me. It's not the same at all. So for you guys to come out to an event, I feel like it's like 10 times braver for you to show up to a group meeting that you don't know anybody, knowing that you could really be there kind of by yourself. You got to pull up a lot of courage, a lot of energy to make conversation with strangers, where even if we're shy and have social anxiety, we at least have this sense of community that is not intertwined into typically the male culture. So I was like, totally see that in my group. What do you guys think about that?
Let me just say something real quick. It's ironic, right? Because we were just talking about online dating where the men significantly outnumber the women. And on Meetup, it's the complete opposite. The women outnumber the men. And
that makes sense to me. Doesn't it make sense to you?
Yeah. But I'm just saying, I've been on both ends. So it's like, yeah, I know what it's like to not have many options online. And so now it's the complete opposite in Meetup. So anyway, yeah, I find that ironic. But also, I feel like women are much more extroverted. That's why they show up. They want to go out. That, like, every woman I've dated they've been like that. And I've always wanted to just stay home and watch sports, and I feel like most men are like that, don't you think?
Ooh, that's interesting. I wonder how much of that is cultural and like what we've been trained we should do to be a host, right? Like I remember being little, like, oh, go take this to the group, or why don't you go say hi? It was all this like how to be a polite young lady and how to go do these things and how to be social. And I'm not that, I mean, I'm 41, so I'm not like, we're not talking like 50s, 60s. But I think maybe there's a little bit more of an expectation that, we are social and we need to present this way and make a nice, and that's our feminine energy too, right? Like welcoming and receiving and making everyone feel comfortable. And like, there's a lot that's not only cultural, it's the energy. But I love my quiet time, alone time. Like if I'm really being honest and I take all those layers off, I could really be pretty introverted. And that surprised me because it's taken me my whole life to discover that. I don't know. What the rest of you guys think? Christine, you had your hand up earlier and I didn't mean to miss that. Is it too late to go back?
No, it's related to the question that you asked earlier, but it's okay. I can wait.
Okay. Do we have other thoughts in on this part before we go back to Christine?
So this part being about this number of men and women. Yeah, I mean, that's the reason why I tend not to go to meetup groups where I don't know anybody. I'll tend to go to a group where I at least know some people who can maybe introduce me to some other people. I have some people to hang out with while looking to meet new people. It's really hard to go to a group where I don't know anybody. I don't typically do that. So probably for the reasons you bring up. So, yeah.
Thank you.
I feel like as a guy though, if you go to one of those meetup groups or like just any meetup group in general, once you talk to the first person, it's like you already got it going. So the conversation just flow easily with everyone because then it's just, you just need to start just that first conversation. That's all you need. And then after that, it's like smooth sailing. But I do think we don't go a lot because like, for example, in the cold time, I really don't like going anywhere besides work at home. Like, I don't even like go to the supermarket unless I really have to. So I feel like that plays a factor into that too. But yeah.
Just kind of get comfortable at home. You're on the computer, maybe you got your pajama pants on all day, nice business to have, and then you just move to the couch and watch TV or do your thing. Is that kind of like the comfort zone we're in most of the time since Zoom?
Yeah, because then you got to put on like all these jackets and all this stuff and warm the car up. And I was like, oh man, I got to go to this group. I'm like, yeah, I don't think so. That's.
You can even get groceries delivered to your door now. So.
That I don't do that one. I feel like it's better to just pick your own groceries, but yeah.
Yeah, John.
Yeah, but I think that since COVID and I've been working from home primarily, it's made me want to go out more because I'm tired of being home in front of the computer, and being on Zoom calls and whatnot. So yeah, I want to get out and meet people and do things. Whereas perhaps if I was going to the office every day, I would feel more tired and not want to deal with it,
That's a good point too.
Yeah, I think a successful strategy is if you go, if you like going to a group where you don't know anybody, is to go early, get there early. The hostess will be there 15 minutes before it starts. They probably won't care if you come in early, meet them, introduce yourself. And you can stand next to them and say hi to people as they walk in the door. They'll think you're part of the receiving committee, the welcoming committee or something. And so that could be helpful as a good way
Get
to
a little status bump.
well, that may be that too, but yeah, that's a thought. But it helps you, unless you're really, if you're good and extroverted, then if you're good at jumping in on going conversations that are already going on, then you've got it made from that perspective. But if most of us like me not good at that, then it's easier if you're already there before the conversation starts. So just a thought.
That's a great idea.
Thanks. Yeah.
I suppose it also helps if it's going to a specific meetup of something you're interested in. Then the people there have something in common to talk about as well.
Yeah, and you're not just there to stare at each other and get to know each other. You're there to maybe do something and, or, you know, share ideas on how to grow in a certain way. Or it's not like, so what's your favorite color? You know, it's not awkward like that.
Yeah, I completely agree with Sid. And it goes to my earlier point though, and I'm curious what the women have to say about this as far as like I have far less interest than the women I date. Like they're much more open to a lot more events, from hiking to whatever else. And I'm just not that as enthusiastic about it. So for the women, like, has that been your experience with dating men? Like they're much more introverted. They want to stay home a lot more than you. They're not as open to different events as you.
I think that men tend to be homebodies far more often, in my experience at least.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's what I've heard from the women I've dated. I've asked them. They said, yeah, the previous men they dated were the same way, just like me.
Actually, yeah, there was one guy who I dated and his outgoingness was impressive. I like was drawn to him because I could take a break from being the one that like was going to go out and do things. This guy was planning all kinds of stuff and I'm just like hanging on for the ride, like from basketball games to trivia nights to, I mean, he was just go, go, go. And I don't know if that would just like the phase of life he was in to, I mean, he was dealing with a lot of emotional things and trying to maybe distract himself during that phase. I mean, it hasn't been that long ago. So I don't know if that's like how people cope, how you guys cope sometimes is just like to get out of the house, keep moving, distract yourself. Or, you know, if this was just one person who's just kind of the opposite, just a very outgoing person. So, that's one person stands out among the rest. So, any other ladies have a certain side on this one? Experience?
Yeah, I think a lot of men, well, I've heard from women that a lot of women like to travel, and I've heard some women say they don't want to go out with somebody or they broke up with their former boyfriend because they didn't want to do anything and go anywhere. Well, that's after they become the boyfriend.
Yeah.
In my experience, after I got married, then my wife started doing a lot of planning, kayaking and hikes and stuff. And she got tired of that. And I was at the point of like, you know, I've been planning dates for 20 years. Like I've been a social event planner and that's not my job. I need a break. Because with it being up to the men to do the initiating meant we had to do the planning, plan the dates and so forth. So this is a little different. Somebody that wants to do a million things constantly. But yeah, there's a whole dynamic there, and it changes, I think, once you get into a relationship and how long you've been dating, and you can get burned out. And yeah, I definitely think that's an aspect of, there's different aspects to that. So anyway.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Clint. Like as the man, like initially there is pressure to impress the woman and take her out and what have you. And then you just get tired, you get exhausted quickly. I do anyway. Because I'm genuinely not interested in any of that stuff. You know what I mean? So I just put on an act for them, kind of, yeah.
You do the dance, right? You come up with a nice restaurant, or you go do the fun comedy club, and you do it even though you're just like, I'm tired on a Friday night. I just would rather not, and you don't get credit for that very much, right? Like if it's not amazing, then we're like, what's up? What you didn't care enough to do a little extra, and like that's not fair. It could be like a balanced experience, you know, like one person plans one date, one person's plans. It depends, right? There are definitely, I could understand where, you know, it's the energy that of the pursuing and, you know, the, oh, what do they call it? The chivalry, right? Of all those things that you do to make it special. And but if we're gonna take some of that off and realize that you're humans that need a little break or need a moment to breathe and not do things that you don't like to do. Like maybe you don't like going to fancy restaurants, or you just met this person and you don't want to take them out to $100 steak dinner. Like that's okay. That makes sense, right? That's reasonable. So there, yeah, maybe some balances that, you know, you can come up with that would be things that you enjoy. A lot of people I've talked to, we come up with, you know, things that they actually enjoy doing, and then just framing their dating around that, so that even if the date doesn't go well, they're still doing something they really like, you know, and you're not like, oh, that was awful. I hated every minute of it. I didn't like the date. I didn't even like the thing I did. Because that's not fun.
Yeah, I think if you start out the dating experience doing all those things, then the expectation is set that they're going to continue, right? And if that's not really who you are, what you want to do, then you're kind of not being true to your partner or yourself for that matter. And you kind of need to tone it down from the start and make sure that you're both comfortable doing whatever you're doing, you know.
That's a great point.
Yeah, good point.
Well, there's the energy into, you know, actually going out on a Friday night after having worked all week.
Mhm.
But then there's also the aspect of just the energy that it takes to be constantly planning. If you're dating someone, a new date for every weekend, come up with something that they, and like you say, you want to do a good job at it, because if she doesn't like it, that could that could be the end. So anyway.
Is there a safe way? I don't know this at all. Actually, I don't know if I've ever talked about this. Is there a safe way to talk about that at the early stages of dating?
I think there is. I feel like if you just say it sometimes, because like I've been through a relationship where we were supposed to go out, right? Like it's like a new relationship and we're supposed to go out. And then I really wasn't feeling it. It was like a Friday. It was like I just got out of work. I'm like, man, I'm trying to go. It happened that I end up mentioning it to her that I wasn't trying to do it. And then she was like, man, I wasn't trying to do it either. I thought, you know what I'm saying? So like we both didn't want to go, but because we both just wanted to stay home and just like watch a movie or something, you know what I'm saying? Because like we were both just tired, but no one wanted to be the first person to say like, we don't. So I feel like sometimes neither party want to go out all the time, you know? Sometimes people just want to chill, but we got like expectations of each other that we have to do it to make it last. And it's like, not really.
How do you think it would have gone if you were like, yeah, I kind of want to just stay home and watch a movie, and then she was really kind of excited for the date?
Well, sometimes when I feel like it's a new relationship, that thing gets to slide a little bit. They be like, oh, okay, I understand. Really and truly, they're like mad, but
Yeah.
I feel like, but
But
I think
sometimes, like, what would be worse? You going on a date when you're exhausted and not interested, and then you're wasting her time, you know? I don't know. Or
Not-
you get out there and you're like, oh my gosh, she's so much cooler than I expected. And then you have this burst of energy and it's like the best night ever, you know?
no, yeah, that's definitely a thing too, because I've been down that path too where I don't want to go, but when I go out, just like even with friends too, sometimes I go out and then it's like, oh man, I actually glad I came out, it's like, but sometimes, because like on Fridays when I get out of work, if I'm gonna go out, I gotta take a nap first. Otherwise, because I go to bed like around 9:30, because I get up early in the morning to go to work. So like if I don't take a nap by the time it's like 9 and I'm out and I'm like, yeah, I need to go to bed. So
That's awesome.
I gotta take a nap first.
I wish I could do that. There's no way. I would probably just stay asleep the rest of the night. But if you train yourself, Friday and Saturday night, come around 5 o'clock, take a little nap, that's perfect.
Yeah, but see, I get home to like around 2:30, 3 o'clock, because I get out of work at 2 o'clock. So because I
Okay.
start at 5. So that'd be home early.
That's crazy. So then like late nights really hurt Friday, Saturday night, late nights.
Yeah, if I don't take a nap, then it's not happening.
Yeah.
I got my body trained to go to bed like so early.
Yeah. Yeah, I dated somebody who went to bed around 6 and got up at 3. And they wiggle a little bit so we could like go out to dinner, you know, but it was a really interesting thing. Like that really gives very little time when we both work to like actually see each other. And I didn't want to change that, you know, that person to move in. I mean, they got up and they worked out really hard and they, you know, did their whole morning routine. And yeah, little things like that make a big difference. And they align you with certain people. Like you're going to bump into different people at 4 a.m. at your gym than you are, you know, if you, I don't know, go out late at night. So that might just help you filter, right, Teddy? Help you filter people that kind of align with your timing every day.
That's true, but like it's also harder because like I do go to the gym before work, and so I get to the gym like around 2:40, right? But like most of the time when you go to the gym that time in the morning, like the people who are there, they're just there like to straight get it in. Like they're not there to talk. We're not, you know what I'm saying? It's like
Yeah.
it's early in the morning, like let's work out and go home. It's not conversation, you know.
Don't talk to me right now. This is crunch time.
Yeah, you know, so I feel like that's that. But that's why I get so tired, like right when I get home from work, because I do get up like super early. But like I take a nap, I'll get up back like maybe 4:30, you know, and then like I'm up for a couple hours and then I go back to bed like around 8:30.
That's amazing.
So like yeah, weekends is the only time really I mostly get to go out and like do stuff, you know, because like I don't try to drink at all during the week, because if I do, then I may just sleep in later and can't have that.
Mess up the whole thing.
Yeah.
Christine, would this be a good time to go back to your question? Maybe she stepped out for a second.
Well, I have a question, Larissa. What would the women say in this situation about feeling tired? Would you welcome if the man called you up and said, "Hey, I really wanted to see you, but I'm just feeling so tired from this week or today. I really want to spend some quality time with you. Could we get together Sunday afternoon instead?" Would you welcome that, as opposed to being kind of like the guy just feeling like he's just not having a good time with him because he's so tired and he shows up anyway? I mean, I'm looking for advice here.
Yeah, I definitely know how I would like to handle that. What about the rest of you ladies? How would you guys feel about that?
I can make an answer.
That'd be great.
You know, the last minute cancellation is not a good thing, but I'd say suggesting a time to reschedule does help it out a lot. I mean, you know, we're all human. We all get tired, you know. So it's okay, except, you know, in my last relationship, like that happened where I got canceled on the last minute, and it actually was a red flag where there was a lot more going on. And it wasn't, I believed him that he was just tired. And it turned out it wasn't just that. So, you know, and I've had a lot of time to think about it. So I don't know.
Yeah. Was
I
that
would
like
maybe just not, I would not plan Friday dates if you're someone who gets tired. I would just not even do it in the first place. You know, that's my answer.
That's a great suggestion. You know, like you feel pressure, or maybe you have plans on Saturday night, so let's squeeze it in on a Friday. But you're right. If that is not a good time for you, that's a great idea. Just move it to the next time, or move it to a Saturday morning. You know,
or a Sunday. Yeah, if Friday doesn't work, maybe Sunday night isn't good, but Sunday brunch, Sunday afternoon or something, you know, a museum or a walk or a hike or something, or whatever.
Yeah, I really like it too. And I like how, Kathy, you said to reschedule. Like, okay, so you're not just canceling and you're done. It's really like you have maybe intentions of actually making this work. And we're still not going to hold our breath, because that could just be like a delaying, and then hopefully you can phase out before that actually happens, or you cancel again, like all that happens. But then I would even, if you could have a little video date, like prove that you're really genuinely at home. Not that you need to prove yourself, but like, hey, let's just get on a phone call for 10 minutes. Or I'd like to connect with you even a little bit, maybe we could do a Zoom call. Or I'm back in COVID, of course, a lot of people maybe got nervous, or we didn't go out or whatever. You guys remember Netflix Party? Where like you could pull up the website and you're watching a movie together, and there's like a chat feature on the site. That was so fun. Like then you're laughing about the same things, or you're like sharing stories on the side while you watch the movie. And that felt really connecting, but you didn't actually see each other, right? You could be a total mess. You'd be super sleepy in your pajamas. Your house could be destroyed. It didn't matter. And you were still like interacting and connecting with each other. So that would be my ultimate choice, but a reschedule would be really nice too.
Okay, thank you. Good to know.
Yeah. So the one that got asked in the chat for me was, again, bringing up the, when you're approached with people that you don't have an interest in, what is the safe way in meetups, or how do you navigate that piece? And I know we kind of touched on it a little bit, but maybe let's throw out some suggestions for all of our listeners that are in meetup groups that would love to know how to either ward off that interest, or how to take a hint when someone's like not interested. How do you gauge that? Do you feel like guys more so in the men's only and the women's only groups that I've hosted, I've learned so much, and it's so interesting to hear. Most generally, women might even go to meetups to really not date. Like, please don't approach me. I know I joined Meetup to not date. I wasn't even in a place to date. I just wanted to go on a walk and have people around me, so I felt safe enough to go on a walk. I didn't want to go by myself. Or yeah, it was just to like be around other people. And then of course someone sends a little message over Meetup, hey beautiful, and I'm like, oh, like that does the opposite. For all of you people out there on Meetup, like that does the opposite of what you wanted to do. It makes me really not interested. I want to block you. Like that's not a way to talk to me right away. And most women feel the same way, at least the most women that I know. And so I kind of tell them right away. I mean, being like a dating coach, I'm like, well, and then I try and like help them understand that makes me feel uncomfortable, or that I'm not interested in having a conversation with that kind of opener, whatever. Maybe I just ignore it. Depends on my mood, I guess, and what they've said. But then when it comes to being in person, it is a different scene, right? Because then it's a little awkward. You want to be nice. You might see them again, so you don't want to hurt their feelings or say anything, hurtful. But it's not there. There's no way that you're going to be connecting. What would you guys like us to say? Let's start with that. What would feel best to you?
Well, I'll just throw in that it happens both ways. And in my experience, I'm very interested in this answer too, because some people just doesn't seem like they have another way of interacting unless it's a male-female prospective dating. They don't understand, oh, let's just be friends and hang out, or let's socialize. And so I'm real curious also. It's not simply, it may be that because men are typically supposed to be the initiators, that women have to deal with this more often, but occasionally I have to deal with it as well. And so I would like to be all ears and be real curious. I don't know. I try to move people to if not friendship, just socializing, but some just don't get it. They, you don't want to get them upset. Like you say, you may have to keep running into them at a group. So I don't know. I've got more questions than answers. So.
Well, if let's say this, if you like someone, you approach them, you said, hey, you want to grab a cup of coffee, and you knew they weren't interested, what would sit well with your system? Like, what would be like, oh, cool. Like, I'm glad that she said it like that. It doesn't hurt my feelings and we can still be friends.
Well, I think honesty is important. I would, in my experience, it's been better when someone says, hey, I'm not here to date anybody, or, I just got here. I'm trying to, I want to meet a lot of different people, or, whatever. Sorry, I just don't share the same feeling. I'd rather that than, oh, well, gosh, this Saturday. Oh, no, that doesn't work for me. Well, what about next Saturday? Oh, well, don't make the litany of excuses. It's better just to get it over with.
Yeah.
Anyway.
No, that
Yeah.
matches what was said in the chat. You just be upfront and tell me that they're not looking for a relationship. So that way they're not making things more weird the next time, and you guys can just take it from there. Just where you're at.
I agree 100%, Clint.
Thank you, Jim.
The sooner you can be honest and upfront, the less awkward it becomes, right? The longer you let it go on, it's more difficult that way. So yeah, just say what you're looking for. If you're not interested, that's okay to say that, I think. And hopefully the guy isn't coming on too strong if you just met. I think there needs to be responsibility on both sides. Like, you don't want to really pressure someone that you've just met and just talked to for the first time into trying to agree to go on a date with you. You have to be respectful of how they're feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah, I agree. But my situation where I encounter this is if usually it's not a problem, because if I'm not interested, I just don't ask. And usually, so I might get rejected, but very occasionally then I run into somebody where they seem to get bent out of shape if I don't ask, and they don't seem to have a way of interacting that does not involve, so you don't want to take me out on a date. It's like, what do I do? How do I, I don't want to upset you, but I'm not going to ask you out. And you don't want to say that, because then they can easily say, what? I would never consider going out with you. You didn't have to worry about that. So,
Yeah. It's
I don't know how to really, I've done my best to try to handle that, but it doesn't happen that often. But
yeah.
Anyway, so
Yeah.
But
just feel
yeah, go ahead.
I just feel like as a guy, you got to look for, like, there's so many different things we got to look for. Like, if it's in person, you got to look at body language and like, oh, they respond to your question type thing, and like online, if you ask someone, or even in person, if you ask them to go get like drinks or something, and they like, no, I'm working this weekend, if they're really interested, they would automatically be like, but I'm free like in this date, or what I'm saying, like, but if they don't come up with another date, like when they're available to go, most times they're just not interested. And then sometimes you just gotta like, I feel like you gotta go at it slow, because there's like sometimes like someone who's interested, but like they just kind of want to feel it out first before they go on a one-on-one, so like you gotta just go at it like more like of a friendly conversation, and just like, not like you're looking to go out or anything, just to chat it up. And then like, if you both like talking to each other, then when you ask out to like go for drinks or whatever, they'll be like, yeah, sure, because they feel already comfortable in a sense to just go out and not feel pressured. Like, if I go out to get coffee or a drink with you, I'm gonna have to like make a decision there if I want to go somewhere with you, or so I just feel like it's just all about body language sometimes in today's world of dating.
Yeah. I actually went and attended a different meetup group as just a single. So not one that I was hosting, just as a single, just kind of undercover, like just trying to experience another form of it. And it was so opposite. There was like a lot of guys. We did like a little speed dating where we sat in a chair and like the guys moved around, and it was very cool. Lots of cool people. But there was somebody that I definitely felt a little sparks with, right? We totally didn't hear the buzzer. We kept talking. We had a lot of things in common. We were really enjoying it. You could see our faces were all like, the body language was spot on. And someone that I had met earlier that we had talked about something that we had in common, I didn't have those feelings at all. Conversation was fine, but wildly different body language, right? I know I was sending different signals and they were sending them back, but this person didn't catch it or something. And while I'm talking to the guy I was, kind of vibing with, that person comes up to me in the middle of the conversation and asks for my phone number. And I'm like super caught off guard. Like I'm kind of talking to the, like it was a really interesting moment, and I enjoyed the conversation. But I just was so caught off guard. I'm like, yeah, okay. And he like gives me his phone and I type it in. And then it almost immediately he's like, okay, when are we going to go do this thing? And I'm like, I am not, I felt really uncomfortable. I need more time to build trust with people. Like I don't go and do one-on-one events with somebody like right away. But that's kind of like, if this other person had asked me, I might have actually said yes, because there was such good vibes from here. We were enjoying each other's conversations so much. And so that is huge, right? To pick up on like, okay, she really is liking me. She's, the eye contact, the body is turned towards me, and being able to pick up on that just completely changes the game. Now that guy didn't ask my number, which, gets me kind of excited to go back to the next one. And I like it that way, because now, there's different times. You're in a different mood when you show up to the next event. You can see each other talking about different things or talking to different people that, who knows? I love this idea of getting to know people over an extended period of time, so you can see the different sides to them. You can continue to get to know other people, so there isn't this like one-on-one pressure that we have to make this work. And, we're just going to see if we flow back into each other's lives, or we enjoy another conversation together to learn a little bit more, and just little by little add on layers of trust. It's my new dating strategy, and I love it.
Yeah, I think there's no right way to reject somebody. You know what I mean? I think most people are going to feel slighted no matter what, no matter how you do it. And there were several points I wanted to address. I forgot all of them, so I'm just going to.
Oh, sorry.
Talk. No, but yeah, Clint said something that, yeah, it happens to guys too. Like women go on these meetups, hope, like you said, Laura said before, like if the right one comes along, everyone's interested. You know what I mean? As long as the attraction's there, what have you, everyone's interested. Women are just much more discreet about it. But I've had several women make the move on me. One even tried to kiss me at these events. And so the point is, it happens both ways. But I forgot everything I was going to say. But okay, I'll just stop talking.
No, that's a great point. Like we can say, oh, I'm not dating right now, or, oh, I'm not interested. I'm just trying to be here to learn to be friends. But if there is that kind of spark, we can't even like help ourselves most of the time. I mean, if we go home and we like calm down and we like, chill out, Larissa, like just take it another, just go again. And if they're not there next time, then it's not big. Calm down, like we have to do that little mantra to keep our head in the game, because we just naturally kind of get this all excited and dreamy kind of situation that doesn't help our clear-headed decision making and healthy relationship building. But you're right, if we really meet somebody that kind of brings up that energy, most of the rules kind of go off the table, the boundaries that we set for ourselves.
Yeah, I think maybe it's just good for somebody in that case to say to them, well, either way, I still want to mix and mingle. I just want to say hi to everybody here tonight, or I just want to float about the room. I'm not ready to go out on any dates yet. That way you've left yourself, 5 minutes later, you can maybe, say yes to somebody, but you've at least let them know I'm not ready to go out on any dates yet. So I think that's an honest approach.
Yeah.
So
Actually, this taps perfectly into one of our questions, was how do you approach a woman in person and online? And I love that this is streamlining into that, because that not only like dealing with rejection, which I think is really hard. That's the hardest part for me. It feels so great for me to affirm connections and, mention the value that I see in them and all the things, it's all those good things feel really good when I get to share them. It's the hard part that I've actually even talked with my therapist lately about, like, how do I do that appropriately? How do I not hurt them? And, for women, we have a little extra added safety concerns if we really upset guys, and so that makes it really tricky for us. But then how do you approach a woman in a really comfortable way? If you're getting approached, that's nice. But then if, she's doing the aloof thing, or she really wants to, she's giving the eyes, like batting her eyelashes or whatever the little body language is that you're picking up on, what is the successful way to go and approach her? Let's say in a meetup, right? When it's singles event or not, let's say it's more of a neutral, like, walk. Have you guys had any success with that?
Well, in general, unless there's like the batting of eyelashes and they want you to come over immediately, I generally have felt it better to not walk directly over, and because someone could get concerned about what's happening, but to just kind of meander over and get a drink at the bar, and almost with your back to them, and then you just turn around and I think women are expecting that a man to just drop out of the sky like they see in the movies, so you just kind of have to play along with that, I think.
Set up a whole movie scene at the
you meander over. It's not like you make a direct approach, unless it's pretty clear that they want you, they're going like this, like
calling you over.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll confess, I'm someone who totally sucks at picking up these subtle clues from a woman. I would much rather she be direct in some way, just to let me know she's interested, and take it from
like
there.
To call you over with her finger, like, come here.
Well, that would work, sure. Yeah.
Yes, I've said that before. I'm all about communication. Just tell me, share your thoughts and feelings. I'm all about that. So I'm not into, like, being a detective and picking up the clues and stuff. I'm just not into it.
Yeah.
I interpret it as playing games. Like, just tell me how you feel. Otherwise, I just interpret all that stuff as playing games and gender roles and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, I feel like most females don't just like tell you. You just gotta pick up on it. I feel like the hardest part for me is like when you have females who are like super friendly, then it's hard to tell like what's going on. Are they just being friendly, or what's the deal here?
Mm-hmm.
But otherwise, I feel like that's the only way we can know is like you gotta pick up on theirs, because they're not just gonna tell you. I feel like.
Yeah, there's an element, and I don't mean to speak for all women here, so definitely chime in, anybody else that can affirm or deny what I'm saying. But there's this level of, like, I don't feel comfortable or even safe enough to really be super forward, because I have this sense of, like, kindling. Imagine kindling that is just ready to be lit with a fire, right? And if I bring this gasoline and I'm ready to strike a match and it's just gonna blow it, like, I don't know the kind of energy that I am gonna ignite by coming on strong to somebody. I have seen all kinds where, like, it freaks them out and they just shut down and they don't know what to do and then they're gone. Or it's like I'm almost attacked at the end of the night, right? Like I've seen the whole spectrum. And so I'm like, okay, it's not okay for me to put my interests out there. I need to kind of wait. I need to like put little subtle signs out there, but hold some serious boundaries, because I don't know what this person really looks like when they realize that I like them, or that I would be kind of interested in moving forward in a little romantic way, like, and that isn't something that's nice to talk about. Like, it's not this world that I think most guys maybe even that you can comprehend. You kind of logically can reason it out, but there is this internal serious safety concern on every minute of the day for us, especially singles. And that is the ultimate gasoline jug that we're holding. Like, if we kind of give the go ahead, we have to be really careful about what kind of fire we're going to light right now. And maybe that's me, because I've had all kinds of experiences, or maybe I've just trying to filter through the conversations that I've heard. But maybe it's also the kind of guys that I have approached, right? if there's some of you guys that we're like, oh, woman can come up to you and say, she likes you, she wants to go on a date, and you're not going to go through this whole thing in your head, or I don't know what kind of, there are all kinds, and I know there are wonderful people that would not spark any kind of unsafe fire. There's a lot more men in my life that way than there was when I first started dating. So the healing journey has helped me get to healthier levels of dating and men. And but sometimes you still don't know.
Yeah, that's one thing I'm frustrated with. Like, as a guy, like, I know most guys are a certain way, like sexually motivated, et cetera, et cetera. I'm just not like that. And so it's frustrating when I come across women and all of that. I have to deal with all that stuff. Like, first, yeah, they're overtly concerned about safety and all that stuff. And when you're a nice guy, it's like, it gets frustrating dealing with that every time. Like, they treat you like a potential murderer and rape, you know what I mean? Like, all that stuff. And so it's like, and then you get through that and it's like, yeah, but, and they're wondering why I'm not jumping on them, when they're interested in me. Like, I'm just not like that, like most guys, you know what I mean? Like, so it's frustrating for me in that regard too. It's just like, I'm just not like that. So they want it more than me, so.
Oh, and so then they're like, hey, why aren't you approaching me? Why are you not making any moves? That they'll get upset with you that way?
Yeah, or even like I'm saying, once we start dating, it's like, or just, yeah, it's just like, they're into me more than I'm into them. And they're wondering why I'm not jumping on them. Yeah, because most guys will take that, even if they're not attracted. Most guys will, be interested in sex.
Yeah, they're like, how can I? Oh, it looks like an opportunity. I'll take the opportunity.
Right.
I don't know. I'm not trying to paint all guys in this picture, of course. And women, I would love, someone to say that you don't have that, or confirm that you do, and you don't have to, of course. But I've talked to a couple women, or at least in our women's only group that we had for a long time. That was a source of topic often, to where I have rarely done this, but most people, every single time they went on a date, they would run them through the Ben Verified or truthfinder.com or like something, and got their whole background check. They would require their first and last name and have to look them up, and they would have to do that before they go on their first date. So it is really unfortunate, for sure. So the approaching women tactic kind of varies, and you're right. The body language has to kind of be aligned in the right way, or what I've learned, what I've seen, and like the way that I talk to some people, like when they maybe talk to me one-on-one on how to do this, is to kind of create a little spark by making a little joke, or, in a friendly banter kind of way, and then move away. Like, just, you kind of touch it. You have little touch points where you are consistently showing up. You're not pressuring, you're talking to different people. And then every once in a while, you'll kind of maybe make your way to hang out with them for a second, have a 2, 3, 4, 10-minute conversation about something, be like, oh, I really liked your comment when we went around the circle, or I really connected with that thing, or were you wearing those shoes last time? Something that you like remember, or some way for you to actually connect. and then be like, I really hope, you know, or it's ending, oh, I really hope I get to see you next time. And then leave this little like lingering and be like, oh, wow, that guy was really cool. I hope to see him again. Like what I'm dealing with, you know? And then it just kind of builds, and then there's trust, and then there's safety. And it's like, you're going to have, I think, a lot more success if you kind of build this over 2-3 different meetings than if you find that spark right away. You go up to them and you ask them, and you're like, hey, what are you doing on Saturday? And they're like, oh, maybe they want to go on a date, but it's probably feeling pressured and awkward inside of her, you know? I don't know. What do you guys think? Would that work for you, ladies?
I want to share something with the group.
Sure.
Yeah, the experience that I once had, I went on a date and the guy ended up being, I don't know how to even call this, but basically he took a rifle and locked down his wife and 3 kids in the house. And I read the article in the news afterwards. That was like years ago, and he went to jail, I guess, for this, but he was going to kill the whole family, and I'm not sure what happened. Like, I don't think he ended up killing them. That's why he was probably released sooner than later and not in jail right now. But anyway, I was on a date, you know, we had a whole dinner and the whole thing, and I Googled him after, not before. So when you guys say we're not all serial killers and murderers and all that, yeah, certainly I'm not going on a date with that notion, you know, that everyone is a serial killer or, you know, a murderer or whatever. But it's, the statistics is there that most crime, violent crime, you know, rapes and all that is committed by men, not women. So we are in a different situation, and I think it's up to a man to build that trust, you know, to ensure that the woman feels safe with you, and that, you know, you kind of need to take those steps and be patient with that as well, you know, coming with that with understanding that it's all fun and games until, you know, until it's not. So
yeah, like we can be light and free about it, but if we're not feeling safe, like
no, yeah, it's all out, you know. I can be fun and adventurous and all that, but I need to build trust with you first and make sure you're not, you know, gonna grab a rifle and start killing people. You know what I mean?
yeah, that's so scary, so intense. But or
That
even
was
just,
like-
you know, not respecting me or my body or any of that, right? Like there's so many times, and this is so crazy how inappropriate things have been when you might not think it's that inappropriate, or it made me feel really uncomfortable, and you're still standing like 3 feet away. Like what, you know, like comments or whatever. We are really a lot more sensitive than maybe most men understand. I don't know if this is on your radar at all, or maybe it is. But in a lot of the things that I researched, there's just so many beautiful ways to describe like the beautiful balance of strength and comfort and safety that men can create for women, and women can create for men, and how they look different. That's essentially what we both need, is we both need this nurturing, comforting safety to lean in. And you'll hear it on like what makes men really fall in love, and how to get him to love you forever, and how to get your ex back, and like all these things. It's not about wearing a certain outfit or, you know, doing a certain whatever. I'm filtering myself right now. But it's about that nurturing of the safe space to be seen, valued, and heard by each other and respected. And so that's the piece that I would love, you know, that's what I've been elevating in my life. And that's what I'm expecting out of people that I go on dates with, or that I have relationships with. Like that is the number one thing. It's a deal breaker if that's not available. It's no longer height, it's no longer age, it's no longer proximity, like none of that matters if that safety piece and that connectedness isn't there. And that's a lot harder to find, you know, and that's why it's not happening. I'm not on the apps because that doesn't help me get there at all. It's in the in-person nurturing and the energy that you can feel when you meet them in person. So it's a totally different way to date though.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like getting personal, you know, like on a personal level, like an actual meeting is essential, like, you know, the sooner than later, because most people just want to like, oh yeah, let's go texting, let's do this texting thing, like I don't know, for a while to get to know each other. And I'm like, what are you getting from this texting thing? Like, how is my day going? And, you know, like, what's the weather? Like, what are you getting to know?
Yeah.
It's almost like, it almost feels like, you know, there is this insecurity about something and people are hiding behind these apps, behind these walls, and they're afraid to, you know, to actually go and face the real person. And you know, I think I would rather be disappointed, like go on a date and say, well, you know, well, it didn't work out. It's fine. You know, let's meet another person. It's not the end of the world, right? But it seems like every person, I don't know, at least it's been my experience, like some guys are like really set on the idea of this being successful, like whatever it takes. They try to tweak things, they try to like you know, kind of like lie about things, or like let's just say not really lie, but mostly like misrepresent things, like make it better than what the reality is. And I think it's, you know, it just doesn't make any sense. It's like, why are you doing this? Like, it's the end of the day, you're just trying to find a match. You're not trying to convince me to be the, you know, that person, like to get the 100% success rate or something.
Yeah.
I don't get it. So.
Like, I am so with you on that. When you get like the, how was your day? 4 days in a row, I'm just like, oh, like,
yeah, right? Get me out of here.
I know. Like, ask me a personal question, like share something about yourself. Like, I don't know you and I'm not moving forward if you're just going to ask me about my day.
Yeah. Every day. Every day. Yeah.
And then like when I ask back, they're like, oh, it's good. Went to work.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
No, it just becomes more awkward and you're not really getting to know the person. That person is not getting to know you, but it's like, it's moving somewhere, I guess, but you know, in reality, it's not moving anywhere. It's just like a dead end, basically.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well,
So I've been trying, sorry to,
no, you go ahead.
yeah, I just wanted to add something, and I don't know if that's something that people are doing as well, but I was trying to just like kind of cut through this and say, I'm not really interested in texting. I would rather go on a video chat and, you know, talk to each other that way, you know, and if there is a spark, we can meet, you know, that type of thing. And I would tell you, in my experience, a lot of people like either like disappear, and I don't know the reason, you know, they could be that they're married, could be anything. I mean, it could be socially awkward or whatever, you know, that hiding behind the screen and not ready to meet the real person. But there were actually people who are excited about that. And it's like, yeah, finally, like somebody who wants to talk. And I'm excited as well, because, you know, I'm like, oh, okay, here's my connection. Here's my person who is, you know, who's willing to talk and, you know, get this going. So I guess it's just a matter of time and being patient to meet the right person. That's what I feel like.
Yeah. But I think you're on the right path, right? You jump right to finding out if there's something there. Otherwise, you're not going to lose your sanity over the hoops to jump.
Yeah. But I was wondering, Larissa, you were saying about those personal events that you went to. What is that again? Can you share more about that? Is that something
Oh, sure. It's like a singles event. This one was in particular Awake Oneness Tribe. I'm actually, after that meeting, I became I jumped on their board. So I'm co-hosting now, and I didn't back then. So I'm co-hosting singles events with them, with our meetup group, once a month. So I'll be out in the western suburbs doing that with their leader, Jay. And then hosting the same one up here, the same format, just by myself up here in Glenview. Because to be honest, and some of you guys have come out, like, I just felt the pull of what everyone maybe was feeling energy towards. So like, oh, we wanted to go to Pinstripes. And then I found ourselves like at a bar, and then people were getting drinks and like, and that's fine. That's all fine and good for a different scenario. But like, if it's my event, like I felt like I was losing energy trying to just hang in that energy. I'm not in that energy anymore. I did that energy in my 20s and 30s. And now I'm more in the like, let's sit around a quiet room with coffee or tea and talk about our real feelings. Like I want to be in that kumbaya kind of circle. And so that's the kind of singles events that I'm back to hosting. That's where I started. I somehow found ourselves, figuring out how to pay for appetizers and get, make it a whole big crazy energy thing. And like, I was exhausted. So I couldn't do it anymore. So that's going to be more of the format where we'll play games like the last event we did charades. And the one before that, we did like I said, chairs turned, or you got up and moved chairs and just introduce yourself. I think Jay did some kind of like shoe find, like we're just being silly, like having just fun time, being authentic and not taking life too seriously, and setting up those interesting situations to see people, how comfortable are they to be silly if they get up and do charades or Pictionary or Cards Against Humanity. We're just gonna like have fun, sober fun, with authentic people. Like that's exactly where I'm gonna feel like super excited to host these things. So
Maybe not the shoe thing, Larissa. I was at one where we did that. That felt kind of weird.
I was wondering, was that the last one? Okay, so Jay and I like planned this together and then planned something else. And then when I asked him how it went, he was like, oh yeah, we did this like shoe find. I'm like, wait, people took their shoes off, put them in a pile.
Yeah. And then you had to go find the person that the shoe belonged to.
Yeah.
And then what?
Like,
You're supposed to offer to put it back on their feet? I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, like Cinderella. There you go. Yeah, I was like, well, what if they smelled or something?
That was my thought.
Yeah.
It was weird.
Yeah. You can't go off script, Jay. I give you gold. You can't change it. Well, I'll be there this weekend. So I don't know, John, if you're going to be out this weekend, but on Saturday, we'll be out there. It's Lombard. Is it Lombard, Wheaton, somewhere around there? I forget, but you guys are welcome to always join us anytime. Any last questions? We are like 10 minutes over and I want to be respectful of your time. Ray's got a question that I'll put on the docket for next time, talking about like what to talk about when you get to meet somebody. So I'll put that on the list for next time. Michael, you had something?
Just a question. This, you and Jay doing this thing in Lombard or what? I mean, what is that? Is that a meetup group or?
Yeah, so I have my own meetup group, this meetup group that we have, but they are building hardcore. They're working really hard to build a Awake Oneness Tribe, which is open to everybody and really tries to bring in a lot of practitioners that are like healers, energy workers, massage therapists, therapists in general, anybody that cares about elevating how people interact and raising the vibrations of your own life. So it could be like, I don't do any of that. I'm a teacher, I'm a coach, I'm not doing Reiki on anybody. I don't know those things and I'm not moving in that direction. But I really love the expectations of love and sharing and support that the group is building. And I'm actually the director of the Oneness coaching program. So I'm putting together those kind of values and helping people kind of align or just check in with, you know, where they need to, you know, think and reflect on if they do align with the Oneness Tribe value system. And yeah, it's just the right way to treat people. I mean, I think everybody that I've met in our group, like this would be exactly aligned with what you want. And John, you've been going a little longer than I have. Any one thing you want to say there?
I thought it was a great group. The first one I went to was a singles event also in November, and yeah, I had a good time. I thought it was a good group of people, and I would definitely encourage the women here to go. There's some interesting guys there as well.
Yeah.
And what is the name of this that you're running?
Well, so I'm
What-
still running the Mindful Dating Meetup group. And I will be continuing with my own thing. I'm actually going to be changing it a little bit, but I'm going to be doing singles events that are aligned with the same. So Jay and I are doing the same thing, but we're just partnering because he really doesn't want to host these things. Like he'd rather not do singles events. And he knows that's a dynamic and a part of the people that have gravitated towards him and his group that he wants to offer, you know, a way to connect. So he has found me through John. John did a great job like matching. He's like, wait, this guy's doing like the same thing you're doing. And so thankfully he wasn't offended that we were doing the same things and said, hey, let's put our work together. And so it's Awake Oneness Tribe. I can put it in the chat. Awake Oneness Tribe. There's a whole website. They've got now practitioners list, really building out a ton. They officially got their 503c certification or status like 2 weeks ago, and have 12 directors now. We've got IT and stewardship. I mean, exactly what I was dreaming. They're like 3 years ahead of me. So I'm just jumping on board. I'm super grateful to be a part of it. Awake Oneness Tribe, I'm writing in there. And even the website, you could Google that and it's going to come up on a nice website. They are doing virtual events as well. They're mostly in person right now, but we are just growing. I'm leading the northern, northwestern, and I'm helping in the western suburbs. But they, their reach is as far as the members are willing to reach for them. So they're building for sure. And we're having a big retreat this summer in June. We've got a place in Geneva. It's going to be huge and intense and like 10 days of like a kind of a festival that they're planning already. So yeah, lots of cool stuff coming. If you kind of tune in, there's 3 different meetup groups under that same name. So you could stay in Meetup and still get connected to the events. They're cross-posted everywhere.
Oh, okay, thanks.
Yeah. Wasn't expecting to give a massive Awake shout out, but they'll love that. Well, you guys are awesome. I so appreciate every single one of you guys being here. We have 13. That's amazing. I'm going to do this every month. Submit your questions, send them to me directly, put them in the thing, whatever you want, and we'll just keep these questions going. I really enjoyed the conversation.
Awesome. Louis, one last question.
Yeah.
I had put a question in the chat for this group about people were talking about, I can't find the questions or whatever. And and I didn't know where to look. Is it, the questions that you're submitting or other people, our participants are submitting, where are those questions to be found?
I'm gonna try and copy it for you. It was a link in the details of the event. Let me copy this and I'll put it in the chat so you have it.
Okay.
It was just in the details. It wasn't in the chat or anything like that.
Was it in Google Forms?
Yeah, it was a Google form. I just put it in the chat.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. Thanks.
Anna. Yeah, so feel free, drop as many questions as you want in there. And we'll we didn't get through all of mine. We'll just keep adding them on and, we'll just see how it flows.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
You guys are awesome. Have a wonderful night. I'll see you next month or before.
Thanks. Bye, everybody.
Good night,
Thank you.
Everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.
Hey, bye-bye.
Bye.